Hey there, welcome back to the channel. If you enjoy what you're about to see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support means a lot. Let's jump right in. A man once told me he had the ability to write just as well with either hand. He confidently referred to himself as amphibious. I know a woman who proudly posted on Facebook about her IQ test results, saying she scored 84. She believed the test was out of 100. For months, I've been dealing with a client who never seems to receive their bills. Every month, they call to ask where it is. I confirm their address, let them know when to expect it, and manually generate a new invoice to email them. Today, during our 6th address confirmation, they suddenly said, "Oh, that's not my town or zip code," and submitted a change of address. How can someone not know where they live? When I was in 3rd grade, I had a conversation with another kid about kiwi birds. She confidently told me those birds lay kiwi fruit instead of eggs. One of my co-workers once said, "Racism didn't begin until the early 2000s. I nearly fell over when I heard it. My uncle once dated a woman who truly set a new bar for cluelessness. Here are the top 3 stories that stand out, though there are likely more. These were all told to me years later, as I wasn't there at the time. It's become a running joke in our family. She believed pork chops came from horses. Upon meeting a man who had lost part of his ear in an accident, she bluntly asked, "What happened to your ear?" He jokingly replied, "I turned my head too quickly and bit it off." She completely accepted his explanation without a second thought. While grocery shopping, she assumed the number of chicken legs in a pack indicated how many legs the chicken must have had. There was also a story involving a moose, but I can't recall the details. Flat earthers, anti-vaxxers, people who believe crystals have healing properties. Back in high school, I was watching Star Wars with some friends. One girl asked, "When did this happen?" I explained that the movie was made in the 1970s. She clarified, "No, the space fight. When did we get into a space fight?" She genuinely thought the events of Star Wars were real. About 20 years ago, I showed my first girlfriend one of those tabloid newspapers like Weekly World News that ran ridiculous fake stories about alien abductions and such. One headline read, "Belgium destroyed by giant asteroid and no one noticed for 2 months." She believed the story was real. She wasn't stupid, just incredibly naive and innocent. My old roommate once put a plastic electric kettle on the stove. I came upstairs to find it melting, with black smoke everywhere. I threw it out and yelled at him for almost burning the house down. The kettle had a cord and everything. An hour later, I came back upstairs and saw he had retrieved the same melted kettle from the trash and put it back on the stove. I could understand if he'd never seen an electric kettle before, but doing it again, with the same destroyed one, he wasn't even on drugs. During geography class, a classmate accused me of being racist and reported me to the principal after I mentioned Nigeria. A friend's partner claimed she was vegan. Another friend jokingly told her, "You're not vegan. You eat corn on the cob, which is actually the spine of a cow." She started crying, genuinely upset, saying she loved eating cow spine and wasn't a vegan after all. From then on, corn was nicknamed cow spine on the cob. Their relationship ended about a week later when she asked why Mel Gibson didn't just call the English king to negotiate in Braveheart. A girl in my high school history class thought Mount Rushmore formed naturally over time. In my sophomore year of college, I met a guy who, after hearing the dumbest story I knew, replied, "Well, that's understandable. Until last year, I didn't realize the US and the United States were the same thing." We were in college in the US, and he was a 19-year-old American, born and raised. During a history class pop quiz, one of the questions asked was, "Where is Pearl Harbor?" I raised my hand and asked, "Who is Pearl Harbor, and why am I supposed to know where he is?" It was me. I had trouble concentrating in school and genuinely thought Pearl Harbor was a person. My uncle told us a story about a guy he worked with. The guy bought a brand new car that had cruise control and a built-in GPS. He ended up wrecking it because he typed an address into the GPS, set the cruise control, and assumed the car would drive itself to the destination without him needing to steer. When I was in middle school, around 12 to 14 years old, we visited a local college. At the bookstore, I bought a pack of gum that cost $0.96 after tax. I gave the cashier, a college-aged girl, $1, and she handed me $0.96 in change. I was so embarrassed for her that I didn't say anything and just took the money. Later, I felt bad and thought she might get into trouble, so I went back and asked if maybe the gum was $0.96, and she only owed me 0 cents 04. She might have just been distracted by something like quantum mechanics and didn't have enough mental energy left for simple math, but it definitely made me think less of college students at the time. I used to work with a girl at a call center who asked things like, "Why do trees grow upwards?" Or, "The sun moves around the earth, doesn't it?" One day she asked, "Does the earth spin while the clouds stay still, or does the earth stay still and the clouds move? I still miss you, Ria." In college, a girl once told me she had SIDS when she was a baby. Back in high school, there was a girl in my history class who once went for an IQ test. One day, after we received our graded history tests, she noticed she'd failed miserably. She tried telling the teacher he couldn't give her an F because she had scored 70 on an IQ test, so she wasn't supposed to fail. The worst part is, she sincerely believed an IQ test meant she couldn't fail school. She ended up failing every subject that year. I still talk to her occasionally on Twitter. She's a flat earther now. A customer came in and thought he should get a pair of Jordan Bred 11s for 90% off using 2 coupons. One was a printed 70% off clearance deal from Nike's website, and the other was a 20% off coupon from Payless that expired in 2017. I spent 10 exhausting minutes, along with 2 managers and another customer, trying to explain to this man why his request wasn't possible. I've never been so confused, frustrated, and exasperated. My ex-girlfriend once heard me say, "I wonder how dolphins have sex." She confidently replied, "There aren't male or female dolphins, they're just dolphins." She truly believed they were magical and argued with me about it for nearly 2 hours. A friend of mine thought syphilis was something you got from eating raw chicken. He once told our entire economics class that he had syphilis. When I was a kid, my brother had lots of bizarre misconceptions, but the only one I remember is when he said, Martin Luther King Jr. was a U.S. president. Otherwise, how could he have stood on a podium? I often deal with people on the phone who redefine stupidity. For example, one customer refused to return a large sack of birdseed because he was convinced it would kill him if he got into a car accident with it. He demanded we send someone to pick it up for him. When we told him that wasn't possible, he burned the sack, emailed us pictures of the ashes, and still demanded both a refund and a fee for his troubles. A girl I used to be friends with would intentionally argue against proven facts just to seem different. My old boss once expressed concern that Manhattan might sink under the weight of all the extra people visiting for New Year's Eve and the ball drop. She believed islands floated. When she found out that wasn't true, she found it hilarious and started telling everyone about it. Later, she was fired after withholding a pay raise from a team member because he rejected her inappropriate advances, which he proved with text messages. A former friend and I got into a huge argument that almost turned physical. I told her to leave my apartment and the building since she didn't live there. Her response, "I don't have to. This is government property." I just stood there, stunned. The police came and quickly informed her she was wrong. Back in 4th grade, we had a motivational speaker visit who had been blind since birth. During the Q&A session, a girl asked why they didn't just wear really thick glasses. The speaker explained they couldn't see anything at all, so there was nothing to magnify. The girl then doubled down, saying, "No, I mean super thick glasses." Even as 4th graders, we all stared at her, wondering how she didn't understand. The blind speaker just shook his head. I once worked at a bank for a, thankfully, short time. A 60-year-old woman came in and asked, "What do you mean my account is negative? I still have checks, so I still have money." My neighbors once removed the batteries from their carbon monoxide detector because it kept going off almost every day. "I'm on a soup and water diet," someone once said. "Tonight's soup is creamy bacon potato." My first year of college, I dated a girl from work. For our first date, we decided to cook something simple at her place. Since we were broke college students, we settled on mac and cheese with wine. Once in the kitchen, she asked, "Okay, serious question. When boiling water, do you heat the pot first and then add the water, or the other way around?" She genuinely didn't know how to boil water. I still don't understand how someone makes it to adulthood without knowing that. In high school, I had a friend who believed she could predict rain by looking at the stars. If the Big Dipper was upside down, she'd say, "The water's going to pour out, so it'll rain tomorrow." She was 17. My ex-girlfriend thought rhinoceroses were dinosaurs. Then, while we were watching King Kong, she asked if it was based on a true story near the end of the movie.